What if Hollow Knight Silksong was actually a Pokemon game? Well, that's what I'm working on. I'm turning every Silksong enemy into a Pokemon. Today, we're going to see 8 more designs, these being based on Moorwing, Cefalugoli, and a split evolution of the Pinterest and Seamstress. And I really recommend you stay until the end, because I would like to show you my progress with the fan game. I think it's looking quite nice, but without further ado, let's get started with what I believe to be one of my most creative designs for this region yet, the Pinterest and a Seamstress. The first idea I had for these designs is to give them some kind of sewing and fabric theme, specifically looking like a balloon, but I wasn't convinced with the design. I also wanted to make them a flying type, as a Pinterest kind of floats in our fight and Seamstress lives inside a balloon house. But then I realised that I somehow already have a lot of flying types in the region, and then I came up with an amazing theme for them. I decided to turn them into octopuses. What? Octopuses, you may ask? You're probably thinking that I'm crazy for that, but it all ended up fitting perfectly. The octopus, as well as other cephalopods, have these strange shaped eyes, and I thought that by stylising them a bit, I can actually make them look like buttons. So of course, I still kept the sewing theme. Anyway, I'll continue explaining more about the concept later, but first, meet Soctopus, a water type Pokemon that shoots water out of its rear in order to shoot itself in the air. It then inflates its body in order to float and shoot down its enemies from the sky. As for its ability, I went with Levitate, an ability that would keep through its stages. It feels like the most logical option, and it's a way of making it a flying type as I originally intended, but without actually being one. Next, I'm going to show you one of its split evolutions. This one specifically is based on the Pinterest. As I was saying, this concept fits really well. These two characters are wearing a cloak, only letting part of their face poke out. And guess what? For some reason, Nintendo loves to represent squids with black spots between their eyes, so it just keeps getting better. Also, it's really hard to make water types for this region, as there are barely any water themed enemies in the game, except for the coral towers and biowater. But even then, it's just not enough, so I'm really glad I went with this idea. It's also hard to make ice types, so by making this one a water and ice type, I hit 2 birds with 1 stone. The reason, of course, is because you fight her in Mount Fae. I didn't really need any more reasons. Anyway, when Soctopus is exposed to an ice stone, it will evolve into Frostimble. It floats by inflating its body and freezing the air around it, while still keeping the inside of its body warm. This contrast lets it float like a balloon. It's quite agile, constantly dipping in and out of battle, hiding thanks to its camouflage ability, as the ink it produces allows it to change colour. As for its stats, I made it a physical attacker with good speed. And finally, its split evolution based on the Seamstress. As she's a little rounder than Pinterest, I decided to exaggerate that feature. In order to keep the sewing theme, I made its tentacle wrap around its body to make it look like a ball of yarn, which can also be found in her house. Another design element I added that I'm really proud of is the little nose that they have. The Seamstress and Pinterest have a funny small nose that dangles, and in this case, it's actually a blob of ink that's dripping, because they're octopuses. When Soctopus is exposed to a firestone, it will evolve into Infyarnal. This water and fire type Pokemon wraps its tentacles around its body in order to preserve its heat, which allows it to float by inflating itself like a hot air balloon. For its stats, I decided to make it slower than its alternate evolution, but with much higher defenses, especially special defense, as squishy Pokemon often have a higher special defense. I also made it a special attacker to contrast more with Frostimble. Next we have the highly requested Moorwing. I really struggled with what type to make it. The most obvious is of course to make it a flying type, but then what other type do I do? Dark? I already made a dark and flying type with Claw and Order, so I prefer not to repeat the type combos if possible, especially if they're going to be found in very similar areas. In the end, I decided to go with Poison as its first stage is based on the mites, which resemble rats, so Poison fits really well. As for its design, while the mite has 3 giant teeth in its mouth, I decided to go with 1, but added some long claws on its paws, positioned in a way that makes it look similar. Meet Moormur. This poison type Pokemon lives in the sewers of the Farlow region. Its hearing is exceptional, so good that it needs to close its ears in order to not get overstimulated by noise, only lifting one ear when necessary. For its abilities, I went with Frisk and Unnerve. Feel like it fits the creepy vibe. And for its hidden ability, I went with a custom one called Echo Hunt, which makes sound-based moves have a 30% chance to confuse your opponent. but if you think of better ideas, just let me know in the comment section and I might change them. Its next stage is based on a Fluttermite. I decided to base it on a bat as they are the closest thing to a flying rat that there is. This one was actually the final design that I made of the three, so it was fairly easy as most of the concept was already done, so I just needed to do something in between. At level 25, Moormur will evolve into Moormurian, now a poison and flying type Pokemon. It silently flutters in the sky, carefully listening the area around it, searching for its prey. And finally, the highly expected Moorwing. I started with this design before its pre-evolutions, as I wanted to have a clear concept before doing the other ones. I was originally going to make a convergent Togekiss line as suggested by Adonis, but I just wasn't convinced with the design that I made. I made a few sketches and they did look like Togekiss and Moorwing, but I felt like the vibes were just wrong. That's probably on me because the idea was great. So in the end I scrapped that and went with an original Fakemon. The hardest part was to decide what to do with the thing that covers Moorwing's eyes. How to make that look natural, and eventually came up with the idea of making it bat with its ears folded down and covering its eyes as they both lie in similar manners. From there, the design just started working. I shaped its nose like an X in order to resemble the stitches on Moorwing's face. Anyway, in the end I was quite happy with the design, but I just struggled a bit with the colours. It was hard to give it an interesting colour scheme that made it look like a poison type while still being fairly similar to Moorwing. At level 40, Moormurian will evolve into Moormurak, a powerful hunter with an even more powerful screech that stuns its prey. It hunts its prey until the very end, and there is no escape as it has an amazing hearing with echolocation, so once it locks on to someone, their only option is to fight back. As for its stats, we already have a poison and flying type bat, so I think that at the very least it should have a different distribution. So while Crobat is a really fast physical attacker, Moormurak is a slow tanky mixed attacker, mostly on the physical side, but still with a decent special attack to go with its custom ability and Boom Burst. And for the final design of the day, we have a regional Snorlax based on Chef Lugoli, as suggested by Starbird. Before I show you that, I would like to remind you that you can become a member to help support the channel. These designs take a long time to do, so any help is appreciated in order to allow me to do this full time. By becoming a member, you can also get some awesome perks like being able to download some of the Fakemon we do in this channel. This month, for example, you can download the ones on screen. Anyway, if you're interested, be sure to check the different plans to see what fits you best. Now, back to the video. Of course, we first need to start with its pre-evolution, Snorlax, which is based on the Roach servers, the enemies you fight right before Chef Lugoli. I gave it the distinctive pose where they look backwards when you hit the gong. I made it dirty and added slime on its head, shaped similarly to the cloth that they have on their head, as well as colouring its underbelly in a way that resembles their apron. Meet Volumian Snorlax. Due to the highly contaminated area, Snorlax had no other choice but to eat food in really bad state, eventually changing into a poison type. They do have the option to leave and find another place, however they're too lazy to do so. As for its abilities, I went with Stench and Poison Touch. And for its hidden ability, I went with Ripen, to double the effects of the berries it holds. Maybe it can be justified by the fact that it's covered in literal shit and that works as a good fertilizer. And next, we have the regional Snorlax based on Chef Lugoli. Just like with the Snorlax, I gave it long shaggy hair on its head to resemble that hat that Chef Lugoli has. This long hair would also allow for some extra shadow on its face, to darken it a bit to look more like Lugoli. Anyway, not much more to add. So, when leveling up with high happiness, Snorlax will evolve into Volumian Snorlax. This Pokemon has become quite distinctive chef. Well, kinda. Likes to gather all kind of rotten food and make different combinations with them. I wouldn't recommend eating it. It will search for a good piece of wood and munch on it to shape it like a spoon to help with its cooking. For its stats, I just gave it the same as regular Snorlax. So really high HP and good attack and special defense, but really slow. And that is all of the designs of the day. But before you leave, I wanted to show you the progress I made for the fan game, so check it out. So you will start the game in Moss Grotto, just like in Silksong. I've created pretty much the whole place, and instead of falling from really high, you have these ledges, so it's kind of like a mountain, I guess, where you fell from So you can see there's like these little ledges that kind of represent the platforms you find at some point, where you can see some maulings like just rolling around it. Here you would have what would be Weaveness Atlanta, I believe it's called. So if you listen to the music, it's literally Moss Grotto from Silksong. I also added some hidden berries in the forest to represent the moss berries you can find. You also have this little cave here, which would take you to what would be the equivalent of the chapel, I think it is, where you fight the Moss Mother. But you wouldn't fight her here, you would actually fight her at the gym with the gym leader, who would be the Moss Druid. But to get there, you need to get out of the forest. And well, if you go left, there would be a river, so you can't go there. Similar to how you can't go to where you get the, what's it called? The Wanderer's Crest. So if you go here, there wouldn't be a bridge, there would just be a river that doesn't let you go through. And it would, where you would get the Wanderer's Crest. So I guess it would be some kind of item that would allow you to evolve Weavy into that Weevolution. But to get that bridge, you would need to do some kind of quest. So if you go to the right, you can get to Bone Bottom, where you have the shopkeeper, which I can't remember what his name was, and a little pilgrim. And if you sit on the benches, you would recover your health, but I still need to add that to the game. And you have the gym, but you can't really get in yet, because first you need to find a gym leader who's out doing potions in the Marrow. So here you would have Sherma, who says that to open this door you need to play music, but we all know that that's not the case. So instead of that, we search for our own way, fight some trainers, and eventually we'll get to this switch here that would open it, but I haven't added that yet. Just like in the Marrow, you have some places with lava, but instead of a floating platform or moving platform that moves around, you would have these bridges. Of course, I have no idea how to add a floating platform, but you can't get there yet. You need to reach the other side later on, which would activate the shortcut. So you'd move around, you'd have a few trainers, a few wild encounters from Pokemon that we made up until now. And eventually we'll get to this point where haven't made this zone yet, but this would be where you fight the Bell Beast. And if you go to the left, you would have a few trainers who, instead of fighting you, would tell you how talk to you about this really powerful trainer who would be Chakra, who would be your rival, and she would be around here. And you would fight her. So then you go out and you reach the top part of Bone Bottom. So you have these stairs, and you would have I think Kraft was his name or something like that, who's building these stairs. And when you talk to him, he says he's just finished and he will build this stair so you can go up and down whenever you want. But at the start they wouldn't be here. And then if you go here, you would actually find the HM1 cut, which would be like you getting the Silk skill that allows you to save the Bell Beast. But you can't really use it until you get the first badge. So you need to find the gym leader, who would be in the same place you would find, or the equivalent place that you would find the Moss Druid in Silksong. So if you continue here, you would have the Moss Druid in this little cave. Or of course, here you would have a little hidden spot similar to the one that was right under the Moss Druid cave, where you had another berry you could find. And in here you would find the gym leader. Talk to him or her, I think it's a her, and she'd say, oh, I'll go back to the gym. And you can just go back, fight her, and continue with your adventure by going to the next place. Anyway, that's all I have up until now. I'll probably add a few Pokemon soon and start making events like fighting trainers and all that. I hope you liked it, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. And this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed making this fan game and I can't wait to start adding trainers and events to actually have a playable demo or something. Also, before saying goodbye, I'd like to thank my members Redclaw87, Jonathan Kant, Pokédex Phyllis, Polixo Plays, and our newest member, Jolan, for helping support the channel. Thank you for staying until the end, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.